Hello, this is Kerry Jones at the National Weather Service here in Albuquerque with a special weather feature highlighting the June 12th tornadic supercell thunderstorm that especially impacted the House, Melrose, Floyd, and Dora areas. This special weather feature was posted the late evening hours of Thursday, June 14th. I've put together a base reflectivity loop that spans roughly 5.5 hours, and this is from the Cannon Air Force Base radar. I've placed on this image here some of the communities to include Fort Sumner, Melrose, Floyd, Portales, and Dora. And you can see here in the upper left the beginnings of this tornadic long-track supercell thunderstorm that developed over far western portions of the Caprock and extreme southeastern Guadalupe County. And this tornadic supercell produced significant and widespread damage along a path that stretched, we think, over 100 miles from approximately 15 miles north of Fort Sumner to near the state line southeast of Dora. A damage survey was conducted this past Wednesday and confirmed at least 2 relatively short tornado damage paths just to the northeast of Floyd in this area here, as well as down in the immediate Dora area. However, damage from wind-driven hail that was up to the size of softballs, or actually slightly larger in some areas, contributed to the vast majority of surveyed damage. And again, the hardest hit areas included Melrose, Floyd, and Dora. If we animate this radar, you'll see the intense supercell thunderstorm just to the west of House, and then note how it makes a turn and tracks southeast right over Melrose, and then just over in northeast of Floyd, and then all the way down towards the Dora area before it slowly weakened as it approached the state line. Also note severe thunderstorms that went through the eastern portion of Curry County, bringing heavy rain and hail to the Clovis region just after midnight Tuesday night. We'll play this one more time, and again, you'll note the just rapid intensification of the supercell thunderstorm right over House and just to the west, and down towards Melrose, a direct hit there. It was in the Floyd area just around 9 o'clock Tuesday evening, and then passed again right over Dora before dissipating right around between 11 and 11:15 Tuesday night. Here's an interesting and really just great looking view of this intense supercell thunderstorm that was taken from a Southwest Airlines flight that was bound for Albuquerque at the time. And this image correlates when the storm was right over Melrose, or actually just to the north of Melrose. And it was captured by one of our employees here, Deirdre Kahn. And we think the flight level at the time was roughly about 32,000 feet. And the one thing that really stands out is the overshooting top, which is indicative of very powerful and intense updrafts associated with this very large hail. And this storm actually intensified even further as it tracked towards Dora. But a very impressive view from 32,000 feet, looking towards the southwest. Here's an interesting image that shows the hail tracks or hail swaths based on the radar data and algorithms that provide us with a maximum expected hail size. So anything in yellow would be roughly golf ball size, and anything red would be at least baseball size based on the radar algorithms. And by far the supercell storm that we're talking about was kind of the biggest and longest track of any storms that we had Tuesday evening, although we did have quite a few throughout eastern New Mexico. If we take a zoomed in view, and I've highlighted Melrose and Dora on this map, again with its origins right here over and to the north of Fort Sumner, over the Caprock I should say, and then you can see the storm initially tracked almost due east, but then definitely took a right turn and tracked southeast, passing right over Melrose and again down towards Dora. And the storm was at its peak intensity, we think, from the vicinity of House, which is about right here, all the way down to Melrose, and then pretty much right over Dora. But I think from Melrose to Dora was definitely when it was at its peak in terms of the width of the hail path, and also just the sheer size of the hailstones at this point. Here's some example photo of the hail that fell in Melrose, and based on our survey, we think that most of the hailstones that impacted Melrose were in the 2 to 3 inch diameter range, which is roughly the size of a baseball. Some were a little bit smaller, and then some a little bit larger. But regardless, hail of this size and magnitude will do tremendous damage, as what we saw in Melrose. Virtually every house in Melrose, estimated at between 200 and 250, suffered just tremendous damage, and especially windows that were facing east were pretty much broken and blown out in just about every case. And then, of course, rain gutters, which don't stand a chance with hail that's falling at 100 miles per hour and is of this magnitude. As you move further down towards the community of Dora, we met up with the Ford family that brought out a hailstone that was softball size, if not a little bit larger. Softball size hail is 4.5 inches in diameter, and this was measured just slightly larger than that. And in our database, recorded database for the state of New Mexico, we've only had a handful of reports since the 1950s of hail that's this magnitude. So this was just an extremely damaging event, and something that hasn't been seen in quite some time. In fact, the hail in and near Dora was the largest observed there in at least 25 years. Over 90% of homes and businesses in Melrose sustained substantial roof damage, as I mentioned, broken windows, again on those east-facing exposures. The other thing that we found quite a bit of, especially down in the Dora area, were hail craters from these large hailstones striking the ground. And you can kind of get a sense here in the picture in the upper left, and then down here in the lower right, of just the craters coming in kind of at an angle and essentially burying themselves, in some cases, into the mud. So just a very damaging event across the board that, again, spanned anywhere from 75 to as much as 100 miles in length. If you'd like more information on this event, or to provide additional details to include pictures, video, and the like, please contact me directly at the Weather Service here in Albuquerque. My email is up on the screen, and we always appreciate feedback and information to refine these significant weather events. And we'll be publishing this in a monthly publication here in about 4 to 6 weeks. So plenty of time to refine the details. Again, go to our website for more information, and we thank you for joining us. Have a great day.